I'm going to get started, okay? Because I've got an hour to get through these really cool questions. Please stay as long as you can, and of course you can always watch back. So the video will be there to watch back. Okay, so as I did yesterday, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the question, I'm going to give my insights, and then I'm going to go over and address the comments. So please, if you've got questions, queries, further insights, please put them down, okay? Because other people's insights can be very helpful. Plus, also they trigger me to remember, to give some good pointers. Alrighty, so here we go. So I got up to Hanifa's question about her beautiful appy called Jasper. So I'm going to repeat the question because it got totally screwed up yesterday. All right, so Hanifa's question was, so Jasper's new thing is now chewing the bit and outstretching his neck forward to the ground and acting like he's stressed with the bit. So basically, she used the bit for a year when she was doing team penning. So she had to go at team penning. And then Hanifa had a really terrible wreck at team penning, which is really awful. That kind of left her with a lot of confidence issues, which is understandable with what happened. But she's had his teeth done. He doesn't do the behavior when he's in a bitless bridle, but when you put the bit in, he does this behavior. So what that means is that Jasper's got he's got some negative feelings about the bit being in his mouth, which is really, really common. Okay, because I'm going to repeat Karen Rolfe from Dressage Naturally. Her greatest insight she gave me is the quote, if you want to piss an animal off, put a bit of metal in its mouth and pull on it. Because then that just makes horses feel negative about it. They brace themselves. They think they've got to protect themselves from this bit of metal that just gets pulled on. And of course, our job is to make them think it doesn't just a bit of metal that goes in their mouth that gets pulled on. It's a communication line. Okay, it's like a telephone. It's a communication thing. But when horses don't feel like that, when they're bitten, they got a negative association, that means they have had a sense that it's just a bit of metal in his mouth that's been pulled on. So my advice to Hanifa is that I'm lucky, we're close by. I get to actually see and work with Hanifa one-on-one. So, she's really done tremendous change and growth in the time that I've been working for her. And we actually haven't got much to the bits because I prefer people to start off bitless, but when we get to the bit, I'll find out what she's doing with her hands. And it might not necessarily be Hanifa, it'll be like the whole relationshit that Jasper's had to the bit. But our job is we're going to make sure that we motivate him and engage him and get him kind of motivated to work with us, and then also have a lot of clarity about the bit, okay? And that it's not something that just gets pulled on. It's not something he has to protect himself with. In fact, how I teach horses is that bit, that's theirs, okay? They control the weight in it. They control. All they got to do is they got to follow it. All right, so that's what we have to teach him. Okay, so any comments there? I'm just going to go to the screen now. So nothing specific. Oh, good. Virginia's joining on a walk. Very good. You're doing it right. Okay, that's great. Just going to flick through, see if I've got any more there. Okay, all right. Very smart, Virginia, killing two birds with one stone. Okay, so next question. How to handle high energy and feeling no control, even if there is control. That is actually a really, really poetic question. That's actually a very important question. So the horse is high energy. You get triggered. So you got to understand that you get triggered to feel out of control. But there is control. So what it means is the horse is up. It's doing what you're asking it to do, but you can feel it's up. And the fact that the horse is up, that is triggering kind of fear and discontent in you. And then it starts feeding through to each other. So how do you control that? And how do you handle that? Well, the first thing is, and as I keep saying, and I'll say it again and again and again, you prevent it. Because when you're at this stage, when you're dealing with confidence and trust, it's because you're missing there's some skills that you need to be taught, and you can prevent this from happening. So very, very rarely, I'm trying to think back to the last time that I experienced this with a horse. It's because I'm super careful with how I introduce horses. Like, I'm very strategic in everything that I do with a horse. I set them up to have good experiences, to learn, because that's what I promote, is that you don't focus on the bad behavior. And when you're at your stage, and I'm the same, and I've been there, okay, so I'm not judging you. My job is to bring you to where I am, okay? So I used to see these situations, goes, like, how do I deal with that behavior? Whereas now, me today is, well, that behavior is not a problem because I prevent it. Okay, I prevent it from actually happening. But just say I was on a horse and it was really up. What is it worried about? Okay, that's the first thing. What is it worried about? Is there something that you can just create more distance from? Okay, so just say you're in an arena, it's a new arena, you've gone out for the first time, and it's really worried about one end of the arena. And it's really up. When it gets there, it gets really worried. So I'd find the place in that arena that horse feels the most comfortable, which I'm telling you now will be closest to the gate. And I just start on a little, tiny little 3-4 meter figures of 8. As I said, figures of 8 are your friend. Okay. And I just focus on riding the best goddamn figure of 8 of my life. And I wait for that horse to arrive, because they will arrive. Okay. So I just wait for that. So I can create distance from it. I can reduce the intensity of something. So if a horse is really worried about, just say, you've gone and taken your horse to a show and it really gets up in the warm-up area, okay? What I would do is go find the quiet place. Go find the quiet place in the warm-up. And I said, just little figures of 8, just start there, It might be out the back further. It might be out near the horse floats further, okay? But I actually focus on prevention of problems. So, when I take new horses somewhere, or I'm introducing them to new things, I know exactly what's going to happen. I can predict it. Horses are predictable, and that's what I want to teach you. They're predictable, and you can set them up to prevent those things from happening. You can train them in a way, introduce things in a way, be strategic about getting them exposed to different environments and things. You can have a process that you do before you get on, a process that you do when you do get on, that minimizes all that and puts you in control. Okay, so my answer to that, how do you handle high energy and the feeling of no control, even if there is control, is you prevent it from happening, and there's a way you can learn how to do that, and it's really cool to learn how to do that, and it's absolutely learnable by anyone. It doesn't matter how old you are, how old your horse is, there is nothing holding you back. However, if you find yourself in that situation, see if you can create some distance from whatever's worrying it. Okay, reduce the intensity of it. That's another thing you can do. But if you're just really stuck and not much of an option, little figures of 8. And just don't do 3 or 4 and wonder why the horse hasn't calmed down yet. You just focus on riding really good figures of 8. And I tell you what, after you might have to ride 20, but that horse will come to you, okay? Because you just consistently putting boundaries around, and you're asking questions in this rhythmic, circular way, the horse will arrive. And not only that, it's given time to maybe get over that it's not actually in danger. It's okay. So as time passes, it will habituate and work out that it's okay, and it will come back to you mentally. All right, how to handle scary new things and places. Again, what I said before, it's all about creating distance. So you make things smaller to the horse, less of an issue. So if it's an object, create some distance from it. The further away it will be, the better the horse will feel about it, because that's what horses are designed to do. You worried about something, you create space, you run away from it. Okay, so start further away. Reduce the intensity. So if the horse gets freaked out working with other horses, get it good with just working with one horse up the end of the arena before you go adding more. Okay, there's a whole way that you strategically help horses do this. New places, you've got to go there with very, well, I'm going to give you this rule, and because this is a rule I live by. It is, I choose the horse first, everything else second. So if my horse isn't coping, or a horse I'm doing with is not coping, I care about it, and I don't care whether that's halfway through a dressage test. Okay, if the horse shows me it's not coping or has a meltdown, I ain't going to wrestle that horse around. There was a day when I used to do that, but I don't do it anymore. Okay, I care about the horse and how it feels, and I know if I make a bad decision, I could create a really big problem with either competing or a venue or something like that. So another thing you can do if a horse is becoming overwhelmed is make it easier. Okay, that might be get off it, do some groundwork. That might be just walk some figures of 8, make it easier, take the pressure off. Okay, they're being overwhelmed. Remember the concept of the worry cup. And and that's why there's all these things that you've got to know about horses that give you the foundation knowledge to be able to make good decisions with them. So you need the skills, the technique of teaching them, but you need the understanding underneath. And that's why I developed that course, Things to Know About Horses, which, and you guys that did the challenge last week, you'll know about that. I've gone through all the literature and information, and I've pulled out the key things that help you make good decisions. And those things are the difference with these horses, how to understand them, and how to understand how they perceive the world. And one of those things I tell you about is the worry cup, that a horse can only, it's an analogy that comes from post-traumatic stress disorder treatment of people. Okay, and horses fit into it really well, that a horse can only handle 1 cup of worry. So if the horse has lots of little worries, so let's just say it's got some gastric ulcers, right? That's going to create some pain, right? And some discomfort when it's worked. So that's going to add in. Imagine you had a worry cup, and that's going to half fill it with water as this discomfort that it has to work with, all right? Then the fact that it's somewhere new, and horses don't cope with change or change the environment. They do not see the world like us. They are designed to be born and die in the one spot. They're not designed to get on airplanes, get in cars, anything like that. They're designed to only be able to travel as far as they can travel. And normally they'll stick around an area. Okay, so they get to know that area really well. So their brains are very limited. They know great detail about like a small number of places. Whereas we're generalizers. We can pick up lots, okay, and we can then go and relate it. So for us, because of our ability in how we see the world and perceive it, and how we tend to generalize it, when we go into a space, we can quickly assess whether it's dangerous or not. We're very fast. They're not, because they're these detailed creatures that know every leaf on the ground. So you take them to a new place and they get triggered all over the place, okay? So you've got to exercise that ability in them to be able to cope with places that are not home, or even different places at your home, okay? So you've got to teach them how to process the environment, and that you actually become part of that, okay? So when I take horses out and start training them and doing this thing with them, exercising their mind to be able to feel secure in different environments, I don't expect to ride them. I go out there, and our first trips with horses is just to take them for a lead and eat some grass. That's it. Or just tie to the float and eat a yummy hay bag and have some carrots, have a party time. It's not, and then it just goes up. I might do a bit of groundwork, but the whole thing is I do with that horse what it needs to do to feel good. So that's how you introduce it. You introduce things slowly with very low expectations that set them up to be able to have the time where they're good. Now, all horses, when they go to somewhere new, will be like, they'll get on edge. They'll be triggered because of this change of environment. But I know just with time and just being allowed to take it all in, they'll go, okay, I'm all right. Okay, so you give them that time. All right, I'm going to go look at the comments to see whether you guys have got any thoughts on that. Samantha, first day back in the office and listening for a while. Awesome. What a good use of office time. That's good. G'day, Joe. Okay, Zoe, having something small, simple, and you've done 1,000 times is good for helping with reducing anxiety when things are a bit much. Absolutely. And that's the thing. Start small, start easy, get some confidence that you can navigate it and nothing's going to murder you. Imagine being taught to swim. Okay, imagine being taught. Remember when you got taught, if you got taught well how to swim? I got taught. We're in the baby pool to start with. You know, it's just up to your ankles, and you learnt to splash around. Then you went into the little middle pool, which was a little bit deeper, and you could actually hang onto the wall and practice your kicks and stuff like that. And then you went into the big pool, but you went down the shallow end, and you got good with that. But you can all still stand up. It's all really good. You kind of got to imagine that for horses, very things that we think are simple are just chucking them in the deep end all the time where they feel like they're about to drown. Okay, simple things, get the confidence, move up, and then you don't freak them out. All right, next question. Samantha can hear. It's good to hear again, taking in more. Yeah, sorry about yesterday. That was a bit of a disaster. Okay, so next question I'm turning my attention to is this. To be able to say, yes, I'd love to go with a group of people on a trail ride without going into freeze mode and making excuses not to go. This is really good, okay? This is a good question because you got to get there. And you will get there if you don't keep forcing yourself to do things. You got to trust. So people think that your fear, your nerves and everything like that are this great burden, hindrance to your life. It's actually not. Fear is actually a gift. Fear is actually a heads up that we got to learn some stuff. Okay, you got to get in control. Learn how to get in control. And you absolutely can. Okay, so it's a heads up. It's a gift. Okay, I'm only sitting here for a lot of, a lot of really mistakes I've made, dumb things that have humbled me, things that have terrified me. I'm here because there've been all moments in my life which has triggered me to grow, get better, get stronger. They've highlighted weaknesses that if I went with that weakness, if I got through it and survived, it was luck. It was luck. It wasn't skill. It was luck. So you wait until you feel like that. Trust this inside you, because if you introduce yourself to do things and keep within your boundaries and stuff like that of where you'll know your comfort zone is and you're strategically stretching it out, eventually that comfort zone is going to be going for a trail ride with friends. Okay, it will, but patience, start where you are. I wanted to say something, it just reminded me of something because I was reading, actually Karen, this is for you, when you wrote about, because you kind of, you've had a couple of horses that you've taken through and they've become really great horses that you've been able to put a lot of time in and a lot of fun, ended up having a lot of fun with them. But you know how much time and investment is to create that solid, secure connection with a horse. Okay, I want to say something about that, because yes, to actually have that horse that you can take anywhere and do anything with, that is a massive time investment that you've got to invest in that, creating that. And I want you all to know that up front, to have that horse that you can just go, yeah, I want to go on that. I can just go on that trail ride. That's going to be fun. That's a big time investment that you've got to do in cultivating that level of relationship with the horse. And that's what Karen was saying. That's a lot. And you mentioned in a post about how you weren't, you know what effort it is, and and that's a little bit like holding you back, but you were feeling inspired that you wanted to do it again. And that's really heartwarming. But I want to say to those people that sometimes life doesn't allow you to invest all that time, right? So you being able to achieve that level of confidence to be able to do all these wonderful things, you might not have that time, okay, to be able to dedicate to that because of life's drives. You've got to go to work, you've got kids, you've got to drive around, you've got grandchild that you've got to look after. There's all these things that will pull on your time. But just say you can still grow your confidence, but you got to really understand your confidence, because you can build confidence and grow it, but you got to do it really strategically. And I want to tell you a story about one of my clients. One of my clients she has a great time with a horse now, but she has a great time doing things within her boundary of what she knows is her confidence. Okay, so what happened with her when I met her, that she couldn't even ride. She's an older lady, and she was actually thinking of getting rid of her horse because she'd had a bit of a fright with him. She might have fallen off, and she really was thinking she couldn't do it anymore. She's too scared to get on him. And we did groundwork for 6 months before she felt comfortable getting back on him. And then we'd only ride in the round yard, you know. But she wanted to go to adult riding club and all things like that. And so I just let her wait. I just said, look, just listen to yourself. If this is where you feel comfortable riding, this is where we're going to feel comfortable riding. And eventually we got to the arena. And the arena had lots of bush around it, and there was lots of little animals that lived in it, and it would be a little bit windy and stuff like that. Well, I gave her permission that she didn't have to ride around the whole arena. You know, she didn't have to do that. She was allowed to ride in a 20-meter circle at the end, or whatever circle, even if it was 10 in the corner just near the gate. If that's what she felt comfortable doing, she was allowed to do that, okay? Because what was happening is, like, she was back on her horse. She was too scared to ride it. But now, you know, and then she would only groundwork it, so she could actually work with it. She got her confidence up that she could work with the horse, but didn't want to ride it. But she built her confidence up to being able to ride it and ride it in the arena. Okay, so her thing with her is just like, you know, she wanted to do these things she enjoyed, but building and cultivating her trust in her horse and her confidence in herself was the most important thing. And it was such a relief to her to be given that permission that she was allowed just to ride in the corner of the arena if that's all she felt like. Well, within a couple of weeks, she was riding all around the arena, and she didn't care if it was windy or whatever. And then she got back to adult riding club. But what she learnt to do was to say no. She knew that if something she knew might risk that confidence and that joy that she built up in her horse, she wouldn't do it, because she protected it. She was really happy with what she had, and they were her boundaries. So, you know, if you asked her, would she like to go on a big trail ride with 20 other riders, she'd probably say no. That doesn't mean, so I see her as a success, and this is what I want you to understand, is that you knowing and understanding your boundaries and protecting them and growing your confidence within there is actually okay. You're not a failure if you can't go out galloping with 20 other people. But as long as you feel she was realistic about what she wanted to do with the horse and what her joys were, and then she built towards that, and she created boundaries of, like, she felt comfortable doing that, where she felt in control, and she just allowed that to build up until she could actually do what she wanted to do. So I want to give people that permission that you're not a failure if you're someone that doesn't like going on a trail ride. You can still be someone that's happy with your confidence and feeling in control with the decisions you make with the horse. And I want to make that clear, okay? So not that Karen knows that she's got to go on this journey to do that, and do that, because to do that is a real engrossing, wonderful thing to go on a horse to want to do that. But I don't want everyone to think that you have to, okay? It's about building confidence within your zones that you want to create, and not being crippled by it, of finding where you're bound, what you want to do, and sticking with them and making decisions that don't destroy your confidence within there. But as well, so what this lovely lady did, she had great skills at controlling a horse, great skills at being able to pick up whether no, she needed to do some more groundwork, or no, it wasn't time to introduce that, and great skills to understand herself. And so she's really happy doing what she's doing, and she'll go around a little cross-country course these days and stuff with a horse and have a lot of fun at adult riding club. And she considers herself, you know, she protects her confidence. She protects it because it's so special, so special to her. But then you could look at her in one light and go, well, she's not confident to do that. No, but she's found her comfort zone of what she's able to do. And I hope people take some really good meaning from that particular story, that it's about building confidence for what you want to do in your zone, and there's no rules about it, that you're not a failure if you can't go galloping with 20 other people, okay? All right. Okay. I'm now going to have a look at the comments. So I've got Karen, your empathy at your relatively young age, Shelley, is amazing. Or Karen, I'm not as young as you think I am. So look, do you know why I got empathy? Because I've been there. I don't judge people. Like, I got a message this morning for someone saying they're really sorry. They just couldn't get into the challenge. There was just too much anxiety kind of for them to actually do it and to do all the things. And it's like, man, I ain't going to judge you. I totally understand you. That's absolutely cool. You know, not a problem at all. If I just inspire you to think of one thing, I've done my job. You know, if I can inspire you to do a bit more, cool. You know, if I inspire you to do absolutely everything and take you on this wonderful journey, then awesome. But if I just get to change one idea in someone, you're way ahead of me at different times in my life. So I got a lot of empathy because I am very conscious of where I've been. Yeah. Renee, that's me. I could think of nothing worse than a trail ride. I feel much more comfortable riding a dressage test, and that's okay. All right. But what I want you to do is I want you to be able to warm up well, and I want you to be able to identify places where you could ride, or people that would be okay to go out on, or riding around a paddock with some obstacles and stuff. And I know you've been doing that, which is awesome. So just remember, so part of this is knowing, like with my friend, what she had to learn is like you just can't stick to an arena. You've got to be able to ride outside the arena as well, because whatever is on the edge of your comfort zone will get scary for a horse when you're training them. So make sure whatever you want to do, you just got to push it out a bit and then you're okay. All right, so be able to ride around a field where there is and warm-ups and things like that. But the people that just ride in the arena, they're setting themselves up for the arena to shrink, and then they'll only be able to ride in one part of it. Okay, so, but yeah, if you don't want to go on a trail ride, you don't have to trail ride. It's no judgment here. You just set yourself up to be able to protect your confidence and remain confident in what you want to do. Okay, all right. It's all about the what ifs and past undesirable experiences. Yeah. What ifs are your brain and your fear running through different scenarios, right? It's because it's been your main thinking brain's been switched off and your mind's giving you scenarios. What your brain's basically doing, it's saying, this is dangerous, get off, I'm going to make you goddamn uncomfortable until you do, right? It's trying to do that. But what happens is, because people go, what do I do about that? And it's like, well, we're going to go start over here and I'm going to teach you how to round pen a horse. They go, yeah, but when I ride, I get the what ifs. And it's like, yeah, but I'm going to put you in control. I'm going to change your brain. I've got to show your brain that you're okay, that this horse is actually highly predictable and you can read it bloody well. And I'm going to get your mind and your body back in sync, because I haven't spoken a lot about this right yet, because this is deep stuff. Teaching you skills and building your confidence. It's deep. There's very, very many layers to it. But what most people that are suffering like a bit of a crisis of confidence have become is there's a disconnect between your mind and your body. Okay, you're not actually unified inside yourself because you can't, because your fear has disconnected you. Okay, it's because you're no longer thinking. You're not thinking about where you're moving. And when I look at videos of people, I can tell your level of confidence by how you move around a horse, because you're moving, and I can tell you're not conscious of what you're doing with the rope or the reins or your hands or where you're standing or anything like that, because your mind and your body have disconnected and you're kind of on automatic pilot. You're not dancing. And that's why I talk about dancing a lot. You're not dancing, or another analogy I use, which is very influential to me, is martial arts. Okay, and the benefit of both dancing and martial arts is and why people really get into both those arts. The beauty within both those arts is the connecting of the mind and the body. Okay, and when it comes to horses, it's a connection of your mind and body that makes a horse trust you. Okay, because they can see, because when your mind and body is connected, your thoughts are connected. Okay, your thought is, you've got the same thought. The thought in your mind is controlling your body, and your mind becomes very quiet, and that's what we go being present or being mindful. So a way to achieve being present and mindful that horses need to feel good with you is done by learning to do things with your body and being conscious of it. You become conscious of your body, you become conscious of your thoughts focus. So people think meditation is the way, like you got to sit there and meditate to control your thoughts. No, you can dance or you can do martial arts. Okay, that you can actually do meditation in action. It's all about controlling your thoughts and developing self-focus. And when you can focus, okay, the horse will focus on you, because what a horse does, right? A horse reads you at a level that we don't understand. Because we're verbal communicators, we explain context with words. So we can kind of explain each other, even though we can tell we read a lot from body language, but a horse only has body language. And a horse can tell if your intent and your body are different and they don't trust you. Okay, they don't trust you. They can see the disconnection within you. So the what ifs are all part of being disconnected from your thoughts. Your thoughts are all over the place. They're scattered, and a horse can see that. So what I do is that by training the horse, I'm training you. I'm doing the same as what dancing and martial arts does, is connects your mind and your body. Okay? And then controls your thoughts. So what happens if I fix you and teach you to round pen a horse really, really well, and then I teach you to ground work a horse really, really well, and then I teach you my next course coming out, which is the foundation riding course, and I teach you to bring those things into the saddle, guess what? Your what ifs disappear because your mind's controlled. Okay, you get mind control. But you start where it doesn't, you don't think it's where it's starting, but it starts. If you've got a specific fear trigger, you're going to get triggered by that. And I want everyone, as one of the jobs I'm going to give you today, is to actually understand and identify what are your fear triggers. So Hanifa, if you're listening, Hanifa has a fear trigger of turning left, because she had a terrible wreck off a horse, and the last thing she remembers, so the last picture her mind remembers is turning left before she hit the ground and got knocked unconscious. So, and we discovered that by accident when she first got back on a horse, that she turned left, and it absolutely, it flipped her into flight, like it full on triggered her. And so that's a massive trigger. So again, that's another dimension that we have to deal with, which is those particular fear phobias. But the majority of what ifs, and the majority of that goes when you become connected and your thoughts control. Okay? So it's a bit of a process. It's not like, let's just do some breathing exercises and stuff like that. All breathing, that's all important. But by completely learning to dance, learning the martial arts of working with a horse, it does the same thing as meditation. It controls your thoughts. Okay? All right. I'm now going to look at your comments, because I just read one that was funny. Alison, I'm too uncoordinated to dance. Can't follow a beat to save myself. Alison, stop. Okay, not true. So you had an experience where that belief has gone into your head, or someone when you were young told you that you were uncoordinated, and your mind's locked that in as the truth. It's not true. Okay, you absolutely can. You just didn't have a good teacher. Okay, and that's forming a block, okay, in you. That's a false belief. You absolutely can. And anyway, it doesn't matter whether you can't dance. You can horse, and I can show you, right? But yeah, that's a false belief. Every human being can do that. Okay, they can do it. You can do it. You've just had shit teachers with shitty ideas that have been put in your head unfairly. But even if you just want to say can't dance, you can horse, my friend. You can work with a horse, and I can show you. Deb, I've learned to consciously slow myself down, and it does not come naturally to me. I have to really think about it. Yes, see, Deb, you have to really think about it. So see what I'm making you do, and like you're this beautiful example, because you were a bit busy with yourself. So I want you, those videos you've taken, go and have a look at yourself. Because you are this magnificent transformation that is happening before my eyes, and I love it. Go look at some of the first videos you sent me, and look at the energy and the fastness and quickness of your movement, because that's reflecting the chaos of your mind. And look at yourself now, and how serene you are, and how connected and how beautiful that is. It's just wonderful, because that's what's happening with you. And it's exactly because you've had to think. So instead of making you sit there and meditate, I've made you do things with your hand and increase your energy and done things. I've made you think, and I've made you think and connect yourself to movement. So I'm doing that deliberately. I am making you think about how you move, and then I'm connecting, because that's what I'm doing. And I can't talk about this at an early stage. You can't meet me and go, hi, I'm going to join your mind and your body, and you're going to find spirit. I'm not going to do that. You think I will be a fruitcake. Okay, I just focus on telling you what I'm going to teach your horse and stuff like that. But I am connecting you on a deep, deep level, and it is seeing. You can see it in your videotapes, and every time I see a video of you, it's just total joy when I see the connection forming within you. And you're going to get really good, Deb, because you practice and practice and take it seriously. Ilka, fear trigger, overthinking a bad outcome. Yeah, as I said, we can. Okay, really normal. Don't beat it up, but there's things we can do about that. Yeah, the bad outcome. And we can quieten that mind down, and we can deal with fear phobias. So finding out what that fear trigger really is important, because then you got to go and you got to desensitize it and counter condition it. A big thing is, as I said, that's why, it takes me a while to eventually teach people that I want to show you how to reboot and put a foundation on a horse and be in control of that horse's operating system, because it gives you that sense of control. And that sense of control has a massive thing that overcomes the fear triggers. Okay, it really downgrades them massively, and then we can get in and we can deal with things to overcome that. Jen, I find myself chatting to my pony. I never shut up. I need to perhaps more consciously focus. Absolutely not. Talk away, Jen. Talk away. I talk all the time. Talking, see what you're doing. This is good. This is good, because talking's another method of focusing your thoughts. I'm just now, let's go over here. Let's go. You should hear me ride. When I ride, I chat away to the horse, right? And we're going to go over here, and now let's go up there, and okay, a little bit more energy. I'm saying the thought, I'm verbalizing the thought in my head. So it's actually a good thing to talk away. I encourage it. In fact, I know one thing I've got to do is I've got to get people to talk, and I know they're getting somewhere when they start talking to the horse about what they're doing, not what they're worried about, but what they're doing. And look, when I'm riding a horse, I'm going to tell you something I want you to say. So if I'm working a horse and just say I've taken them out somewhere for the first time and they're not sure about the environment, you'll hear me go, because I'll feel them tense up a little bit. I feel that they're a little bit worried about up there yet. And I'll go, that's okay. We're not going to go up there yet. We'll get ready. We're just working down here. But you hear me say this, you're all right. We're all right. You're all right. We're all right. Let's keep trucking. Okay. So you hear me say that, you're all right when I ride. You're all right. We're all right. Let's keep going. Okay. We're going to go over here. We're going to do this. Okay, show me a little bit more bend. You'll hear me chatting away to them all the time. Nothing wrong with that, because it's a thought in my head. It's the same thought that's coming out my mouth. Okay. Jen also said, I also worry about my pony hurting himself. Yeah, I get that, because you drive as well. So he's in all that equipment. Yeah. But as I said, when you get in control of it, control your thoughts. So I want you got to find the basics of handling him on the ground and groundwork, and then instead of being ridden, it's introducing him back into the cart and doing simple things. But I would be taking him out, because Jen, I know your story about with your pony. He's really good at just saying this at home, but he can get really, really worried when he goes out to shows and stuff like that. I'd be taking that pony out just in hand, just doing groundwork. I'd just be exposing him to this environment and that environment, and this environment and that environment. And I'd be teaching him and letting him get used to that, and having to do some groundwork around other horses that are in carts and things like that. And I'd be going back and dealing with that. I'd be working on, he's obviously got, with his herd dynamics, his ability to emotionally process environments needs some work. So yeah, I'd be taking him out to a lot of places, but just mine as the cart first, and really getting him as himself a lot more confident and better at processing the environment before you go put him back in the cart. That's my plan that I'd recommend for you. Deb, thumbs up, definitely. You're a superstar, my friend. Hanifa, I'm here and I just woke up. Well, I've just spoken lots about you, so you're going to have to watch this back to find out, my friend. Jen, what a relief. That's me exactly. Cool. Jen, I actually remember my daughter having a driving instructor who made her have constant dialogue about her movements. Yeah, smart. Focus. If If you're talking random stuff that's not connected to it, that's not good. But if you're talking about what you're doing and that helps, it helps me personally, then, you know, absolutely do that. All right, next question. All right, so I have a question about time, although question is probably for everyone in the group. Does anyone else think they are doing something for a long time when they're nervous? I mean, for example, this morning's task was 45-minute session with a horse. I actually set a timer after cleaning out the first foot, putting the bell boot on. Then continued cleaning out the feet, leading down the round yard. I did a session as I described in my update. Once I got back inside, I remembered the timer and it still had 6 minutes on it. I felt like I was actually out there longer than an hour. Another example, during a lesson with Shelley, we got tough cantering circles and I had to stop. Shelley asked why I stopped, and I said I felt like I was going on forever. She said I'd actually only been cantering for 40 seconds. Sorry, that is long, but I'm just wondering if anyone else feels that way about anxiety. Oh yeah, that's really normal. In fact, there's something that happens to me. I'm going to tell you both sides. So when something makes you anxious, something goes on for a long time. Time goes slowly, right? And with that, right, don't beat yourself up about having 6 minutes on the clock. Goddamn, celebrate you went out and did it, okay? Because that's all I want you to do. It doesn't matter if it's 45 minutes. I don't care. I don't care if it's 10. You actually went out there and do something, because you see, I want to create habits, and habits just starts from doing it, okay? Doing that, over that hump and doing it. I don't care if it's for 30 seconds. That doesn't matter. If you did 39 minutes, that's bloody awesome, in my opinion. But yeah, when you're anxious about something, time is very pressing. It's kind of there and you can feel it. When anxiety goes away and you get in it and you become matched with your horse, so you get this sense of control, you'll actually enter into this state called flow. And you would have all experienced flow. Flow is the state that you go into when you lose track of time. When you get a shock, it's like, oh my God, it's 5 o'clock, or God, you picked up that book and suddenly it's 3 hours later and you didn't have an idea about time. So I get horses send me into flow. And that's why at clinics, I have to tell someone at a clinic, you are in charge of my time, because do not think I have any clue. I have no perception of time when I work a horse, because I just get lost in the state of flow. And it's this wonderful, awesome state of fabulousness where you get immersed in it. It's like watching a really good book, or, you know, or going and doing something, drawing or painting or knitting or whatever you really enjoy doing, cooking, and time just flies, okay? That's a state of flow. And when you get in control of the horse, and your feelings of being in control and your feelings of joy of what you're doing combine, you will enter flow, okay? And you'll end up going, holy crap, I was out there for 2 hours. I'm so sorry. Now I'm late, okay? Or you're like me, apologizing for running late at the clinic again. All right, so just going over to your comments now about that. Oh, so look, a really good thing for that, first of all, I don't care about time. It's cool, okay? You'll get lost in time soon, and that can actually bring its own problems. However, getting in one of those apps that actually track time is really good for actually looking back at what you've actually done, because it's funny, because, you know, I'm a proponent of canter therapy, which, you know, I'll probably talk about a bit more, but getting horses to canter more and getting you to canter your horse more when you're ready, okay? But it's funny, people will go, you know what, I thought I did a lot of canter today, and like, I thought I cantered for ages, but then I looked at my whole, you know, 1 hour, 10-minute ride out, and I cantered for 2 minutes. And so those apps that do a lot of tracking of your riding time, you know, they can be quite revealing, and, you know, they allow you to see how much you're actually doing. And then especially if you're training for something that needs fitness, then you'll actually consciously know that you've got to do double what you did the day before, or double or triple, or build it up, okay? Okay, so Zoe said, yep, I cannot tell you how long it feels like I do hard things for. Yes, they tend to drag, and putting on that timer and just doing the thing for a short burst really helps reduce starting to overwhelm me. Yeah. It's just been okay. We're just doing little bits. It's actually what you start to do hard things is actually just the start. It's just creating that start that's really important. Yeah, I like that. I can horse. Yes. Awesome. Thanks, Joe. All right, guys. Next question. I would like to be able to handle when my horse bucks in canter without overreacting, i.e. not grabbing the reins and pulling on her, and without thinking, what if I fell off? I would be able to just sit back and ride through it. I would also like to be able to handle riding out in the open paddock without any what ifs. She spooks. Or what if she gets cranky and the cat leaps out, or she cat leaps, rears, bucks, thoughts keep hassling me. Okay, so this is what you need to do, okay? First of all, you need to start, this is you, Renee. This is Renee. And okay, first of all, I'm going to give you a couple of tips about what to do. So with a canter transition, it's not uncommon for young horses when they're unbalanced, especially with someone on their back, to do a little bit of a hump thing into canter because they've got to get their hind underneath them. Okay, now that's going to go away with lots of canter practice, but this is what I would do, right? Because I've had to work with a lot of horses that were buckers in canter, so that's always a fun thing when you've got to do that first canter on them. So let me tell you how I handle it in the round yard. So first of all, I do go through all my groundwork process, weeks of that or whatever, getting the canter really good in the round yard and then online in groundwork, then with the saddle on, right? And then, okay, I'm up to the time when I'm actually sitting on this horse's back that has this terrible history of being a bucking bronc, and I have to ask it to canter for the first time, all right? I make sure that horse really understands the kiss noise, okay? So they understand that really, really well in groundwork. Then what I do, I always ride with a monkey strap on my saddle, always. And I've got my reins long. I don't, horses, especially young horses with yours, I wouldn't encourage just necessarily picking up too much, especially not in that canter transition. Because when you've got them up and they go into canter and they do something, you're at risk of pulling back on them, which then gives them a fright and can make them scared of that canter transition. And then it's just, a self-fulfilling prophecy of crapness about the canter transition. So long reins, no pressure on their face, in a round yard. I put my outside hand and I loop it around that monkey strap. I got my other hand down the rein a bit. So I ride, can you see me? So this hand here is on the monkey strap on the outside. This is my, the one closest, where am I? No more. Okay, this one here, this is on the monkey strap. This is the one closest to me. I'm looking in the picture thing and it's not a mirror, it's the kind of the opposite, so it's kind of weird. Okay, this one's around my monkey strap and I'm leaning back a bit, right? I lean back, I hang on to that monkey strap and I lean back. So I really lock myself in the saddle, okay? My inside hand's got the rein forward, okay? But I don't have to do much. I just have to open my hand to be able to shut that horse down or put it onto a small circle, right? So I am locked in. I've got my hand on the monkey strap. I'm locked into that saddle, okay, on my monkey strap, inside hand out in case I have to shut that horse down if something happens, right? Then I sit back, I squeeze, and I kiss, and I wait for the canter to happen. So I've got all my emergency risk security on for that transition. And as soon as I'm over it, we'll just relax, right? Relax, and then I'll bring them back down a trot and I do it again and I do it again and I push that canter transition button as many times as I can. But I'm locked into that saddle. I'm not going to pull on their mouth. I'll pull on the saddle, right? Because that's monkey strap's going to save me a lot more than pulling on their face. Pulling on their face is just going to piss them off and freak them out more, and I'll be in a wreck. Okay, so I hang on to that monkey strap and I lock myself in. Okay, so that's what I do. And that's with a horse that's got a serious evasion of bucking. And I feel quite confident doing that because I'm locked in. I can open them up and shut them down. I've done lots and lots and lots of shutting down in trot. And I've also done something else I recommend. I've done lots of big trot transitions. So I'm going through that increase of adrenaline with them as well. So, walk transition, up into trot, then I go trot, then I go big trot, really big trot. And then can I get them back down to a walk from that? And then can I get down to a nice relaxed trot? And then canter's just a little bit further than that. Okay, so that's some hints about the canter with a young horse. All right, next thing is the what ifs. Okay, the more, when you're working this horse, you know how gratitude, you ever heard about how gratitude works? That when you have a gratitude journal and every day you focus on good things that happen, right? It changes your brain to stop having such a negative lens over it, that it helps you start seeing positive things, and it's really good for mental health. Like, they've done lots of research into gratitude. Well, you got to practice something similar happens with a horse. I want you to focus on all the fantastic things that your horse does. Start going, wow, look at that awesome transition. Or look at that lovely relaxed trot. Look how she's dropping her head down. Look how lovely and responsive that was and calm that was. And I articulate it. So when I coach, right, I'm saying that all the time. I'm focusing on all the really good things the horse did. Because that's got to train your brain that you start, instead of having the what ifs, it starts focusing on the good things, okay? And the combination of feeling more in control of the horse, seeing the positive things, knowing how to make good decisions with that horse and pick when when there's a red flag or an orange flag up, that's probably not a good idea. Understanding yourself and where your confidence at and all that kind of thing, and stretching your comfort zone and stuff like that all those things align to you to be able to do those things. Okay, walk out in the paddock and stuff like that, and you stop worrying about the what ifs, because you got the tools there. And when I ride out, if I ride out in the bush or something like that, I've always got one hand on my monkey strap. Okay, I'll always just ride around on a loose rein, but I got my one of my thumbs locked in there if anything does happen. If I'm going somewhere there's lots of roos and things like that, there'll be times that I'll relax, but I'll keep hanging on that. So, I'll just keep a hand there, that if anything happens, I'm there. Because I've had a lot of wrecks. I've got a very bad back injury at the moment, from a number of years ago. And if I hit the ground again, I could end up in a wheelchair. So, I just make really good decisions. I don't let that drive me. I understand. I feel a great sense of control. But, I'm going to do something that I know is going to be like a risk management thing. Okay, so I hope that helps. Okay, just going to turn my attention to you guys if you've got some comments on that. Yep, that's me with the canter. Definitely need the app to show how much cantering I do. Yeah, you do. You don't realize how little you do. Hanifa, I understand the part about creating distance. So interesting. You do the same with your active dogs. Yeah, it's no different. Yeah, very true. Renee, thanks, Shelley. That helps a lot. I do have a monkey strap. I just forgot about it in a crisis, but preemptively holding it into can will kill two birds with one stone, making me more secure and stop grabbing at the reins. Yes, and see what I've done and what I do, when with people that I work in, when we go through my foundation riding, when I teach people to reboot horses from the round pen up, I teach you part of training is hanging onto that monkey strap. So I teach you how to do it. So it becomes second nature. So instead of grabbing for their face, you'll grab onto that monkey strap, because monkey straps will secure in the saddle. So they'll actually stop you from falling off. Grabbing the reins will actually make you fall off, because the horse will rip their head around and fling you out of the saddle. So I teach you the habit of grabbing onto the monkey strap. I've also got this other thing, I've also got this other thing as well that I've got on my saddle that I've found, and for the life of me, it's just got out of my brain. I'll have to remember what it's called, but it's not a monkey. It attaches to the same place as a monkey strap, but you hold it just like you hold a whip. It's a little bit longer, and it's a strap, and it's got a rubber stopper at the end of it, and you just hold it, you just ride with it like it's a whip, okay? But it has the same thing as a monkey strap, but instead of having your hand down low, you have your hand up high. It was actually developed by show jumpers in the UK. So you ride with it and just hold it like a whip. But it's a security thing. In fact, the lovely lady I was talking about that got her confidence back by just by having boundaries and sticking to them, she put me onto it. So yeah, you just hold it like a whip. It attaches to the same place, And yeah, you ride around and it's just part of your range. So instead of having to grab for the whip, grab for a monkey strap, it's actually there. I'll find it and I'll post it on the challenge group because I've got one and it's great. So that's what I changed. So when I go for a ride in the bush, as I said, I'd have my hand around the monkey strap. Well, what I did when I've got this particular thing that's one of my saddles, I just hang on to that. It's just there. It's just the extra security thing that if you do meet a kangaroo or something like that in the bush and something happens, you're just extra security in the saddle. Or if you're riding a Western saddle, get yourself a night latch. Same thing. All right. Okay. Jen Brenner, any recommendation of the apps? Yeah, Equilab, and there is a free version. Yeah, that's the one that I know about. Karen, love the monkey strap suggestion. I have some, but don't currently have them on my saddle. Yeah, and just get used. They are fantastic, and I don't care when anyone says they're great. I teach people to use them, and lots of people say that it's an absolute, it's been a game changer for them. And also because I've taught them to hang on to it and how to hang on to it, okay? All right, so having one hand in back holding to the Western cantle also saved me many times on the trail. Yeah, and Karen, so Western saddles, you can buy what's called a night latch. It's basically a monkey strap for Western saddles. Yeah, it's called a night latch. Claire, I hold on the monkey strap but still have a habit of shortening my reins, which I know is bad. Any tips on letting go? Yeah, I'm going to show you how, okay? Because I'll actually show you how, because it'll also teach your brain that if you want to make your situation worse, you shorten your reins. That you can actually calm a horse down more on a loose rein, but not ridiculously loose on the buckle, right? But on longer reins where you're not pulling on their mouth, because it empties the worry cup. When you pull on a horse's mouth, it fills up the worry cup, okay? And it's the best thing to do to calm a horse down is to actually loosen your reins. But just to keep, I'm going to teach you the power of the figure of 8 and turning them and circling them and stuff like that. That actually long reins are the best for that. Yeah, so yeah, so that's all part of the process, is learning that. It's actually quite funny when I help people with nerves or I teach them how to reboot their horse. There's two main things they freak out about, right? And it's really funny because if you want me to do it properly, right, do it properly, I make you, when you get on the horse, right, I'll make you do it without a bit. I'll make you do it in a halter, and that absolutely freaks people out. And then I'll make you do it on a loose rein, right? Now, I don't do that for everybody. I really look where people are, but just say this particular horse of the person I'm going to tell you about, this horse had really bad contact issues. So they had no choice but to follow my direction and start riding their horse again just in a halter. Anyway, and on a loose rein, and they were really challenged by that, but bless them, they trusted me, and the horse had done so well in groundwork and progressed so much that they had enough confidence in there to trust me, so they got back on board. And it was really hilarious. So just say, I don't ride horses in a halter forever. We got to get that bit back on. You got to get your bit back on. And I remember it was after 2 weeks, the horse was clearly ready to be introduced back to the bit. And I had to literally pry the halter out of her hands and go, no, we are riding in a bit today. Because what she had discovered was just that the horse was completely and utterly different without having a bit in its mouth, which makes sense. This horse had really bad experience with the bit. So, of course, when you had the bit in its mouth, its worry cup was full and it was a different creature. So when you took the bit out, the horse was different, like totally different. And she'd identified that and she didn't want to put the bit back in her mouth. And then, so, we did that and it was all okay. But then I had to get her, now we've got to teach her to be a dressage horse again, and it's just like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to pick up my reins now. So, it's funny how people they have their security blanket of wanting to have their bits in and their reins short. And then I got to fight with them to go to reintroduce it back, because you start being able to see the worry cup and seeing how much less stressed your horse is when you take that pressure off them. But it's an art. You just got to teach them how to do it properly back again. And then you've got, then you can go out and do things with your horse. All right. So just going back now to some comments. So Jen Brennan, wish I had a monkey strap. Yeah, you drive. That's a different kettle of fish. Okay. So yeah, with driving, that Wow, that's a real different kettle of fish. So your thing is that you've got to take a lot of step backwards, because you got that zone of where it's almost easier for me to think about riding, because you're just taking the horse and then you're going and sitting on their back. There's that sitting on the back transfer, but you got to do a lot more transferring with your guy, because not only is he going, having all the harness, but he's having to pull something behind him, and then you get in it, and then there's all that driving. And I know with contact with the driving horses is a little bit different, because contact needs to be established. I can go around on a loose rein on a horse's back and just turn it. You can't when you're driving. So there has to be this gap zone of what we have to do that will be that introduction for you. So with you, there's some thinking, but I think now the focus is, getting him really a different pony on the ground and emptying out his worry cup and getting him a lot more responsive and focused and motivated and engaged in a different attitude altogether before you go put that harness back on. Okay, Ilka, I like the idea of the monkey strap alternative. I have a monkey strap, but never think to use it. Yeah, I got to teach you how to use it, give you the habit of going to the hand there and using it, but I will get you the name of that strap. It's just about popped into my mind, but anyway, let me research it and find it. Karen, I cannot wait for that instruction to prevent tightening the reins. Yeah, you'll learn it, and then you'll never learn, then you'll struggle to pick up the reins. Yeah, it's just all about using curves and bends and circling and stuff like that. And it's how, see, the problem is with most programs, like, people discover groundwork and that can be life-changing for them, but then there's this disconnect between the groundwork and the ridden work. Well, I know how to, I think what I've worked is learning how to combine it all so it all flows and makes sense for the people. So yeah, it's all about curved lines and bends and teaching relaxation through that bend and all the layers. It's it's a really artistic, creative thing that you learn to do with a horse, but it's all about bending. Okay. Yeah, exactly, Jen. You do need rein contact. Driving's a different thing. Without rein contact, you've got no steering wheel. So I totally understand there's a difference with the driving horses and the riding horses. And yeah, this is something I'm going to have to really think of to help you. But luckily, I got access to a guy that's very, very good, high-level kind of driver that gives me great ideas with contact. So with him, I'll be talking to him about your situation. All right, so next question, how am I going for time? Oh my God, how did that happen? It's 11:03. Look, I might just do one more and then, well, I'm going to have to do another live because obviously crapping on too long. Okay, this is one for Deb. I did give her some ideas last night, but I want to address it too for everyone. I would love to be able to load my horse on the float and feel confident and relaxed. I've come a long way, but I still have anxiety attached to floating. I can load and offload, but I admit I still feel my heart racing at times, no matter how hard I try not to. It's not fear of the horse. I have this fear of him hurting himself. When he is moving or unsettled on the float, it stresses me out. Yeah, Deb has a little horse with a big file in his head about being floated. And as I said to her last night, what you got to do with these horses that really have a big issue about floating. So it's actually exists. You got to look at it. It's a file in their head, right? Sometimes he'll do it perfect, and then other times he'll say no, and it's a big no. Okay. And as I told to her, what she's got to do with this horse is let go. Okay, non-attachment. You cannot be that whole Buddhist thing. You can't attach. You got to let it go. And what that means is that don't worry about what he's going to say. You just got to have consistent consequences. If he gets on the float, fantastic. If he doesn't want to get on the float, let it go. You just got a system that you do when he doesn't float. You just got to go and do some groundwork. As I told one of my clients with a horse that was really bad floater, you just got to say, he's got to smile the whole time. And if he gets on, fantastic. And if he doesn't, it's cool bananas. just going to go do some groundwork, and then we're going to rest in the float. And you just got to do everything with a smile on your face. And with this particular horse, I want you to have no attachment while we're working through it, because you will be able to work through it and close the file, but it's going to require a lot of repetition and poking this issue that he has until he works out he's okay, and that you and him, he gets okay with it. But it's going to involve lots of little regular trips and happening, and you're involving Jane in these trips and that's just absolutely fantastic and the way to go, and you're setting up to success. But I just want you to take a deep breath, and if he doesn't go on, it's like cool bananas. We're just going to go through the process, because he goes on. He eventually will always go on. And so that's fine. And so it's like, okay, today's this kind of day. But it's just like letting it go. It's not thinking failure. It's not thinking terrible. And if you drop that kind of fear, it's going to make it less so for him. And then the groundwork's not. You just got to let him be. You got to disassociate yourself from how he's feeling about it and just focus on helping him. You can't change his feelings. But if, you can just allow him knows today he's got to work through this little bit, okay? And if you drop yourself down and you center yourself and you're grounded or whatever, that'll actually have a big impact on him, okay? All right, guys. So we're in flow. See, I can't be trusted. I am in flow. All right, so I think I might have to look. What I'll probably do is I'm going to try to do I'll probably do a little bit of a live kind of every day. If you can make it, not, but it means there's a video up, and then, we can go through the questions. So keep sending me questions and stuff like that, and hopefully through the week I'll make sure I get through them all. But I'm just going to have a little talk to you every day about things, giving you some ideas, giving you some peace in your heart and stuff like that. And as I said, if I sat you down and go, right, this is what we've got to do for building confidence, it'd just blow your mind. There's a lot of layers to it. There's a lot of layers to you. There's a lot of layers to the horse. There's a lot of technique to it, etc. There's a lot of things that you're training, but it's all about one thing I would really like to change in the world. Instead of having an attitude of the brave rider, I'd like everyone to be focused on the clever, smart rider, okay? Because it's making good decisions and having a thought process about what you want to achieve, what you want the horse to do, etc. Okay, so just going back to your comments there. Anna's identified I'm in flow. Deb, thanks Shelley for the great advice, no worries. The flow dance are brilliant, no worries. Anna, yay. Deb, great chat. Claire, thanks Shelley. No worries, guys. Good talking to you, and I'll make a time tomorrow. If you can make it, you make it. If you can't, you can't. It's cool, but I want to get through these questions, and I want to do it by talking. Okay, see you later, guys.